you guys doing today? Welcome back to my channel. My name is theallushon and this is Lush Uncut. So today we are in for what I think is going to be a treat. So as many of you may or may not know, let me say that you guys don't know, so technically I may or may not be putting you on. Candace Owens had a documentary basically killing Black Lives Matter. I think the documentary actually premiered yesterday on October 12th, called The Greatest Lie Ever. Now, there has been a lot of events in the news that has led up to this documentary. If you don't know by now, which I'm pretty sure you do, her and Kanye West had this whole thing where they did the White Lives Matter shirt in the Paris fashion show, and then Kanye went on Tucker Carlson and basically explained himself and what he was going for, and then Candace did an episode on her podcast describing her reasoning for joining into the stunt. So this all kind of led to the culmination of this documentary that came out basically blasting Black Lives Matter and exposing them for the fraud that they are. So I was scrolling on the Instagram today, as I do while I'm at work because that's what they're paying me for, and I came across this video that Black Lives Matter actually posted. And this is not like an official statement per se, but in my humbled opinion, this was clearly a dig at Candace and a simultaneous response to her documentary. So we're gonna watch this and then we're gonna talk about it afterwards. Okay, so let's go.
Kanye West that put the White Lives Matter t-shirt on first. You did. You did by intentionally ignoring what Black Lives Matter would actually mean if it was applied.
And it's people like this that are exactly the reason why I say what I say in the way that I say it. I'm about to ether your shit. Now rewind. Let's run this shit back point by point.
It wasn't Kanye West that put the White Lives Matter t-shirt on first. You did. You did by intentionally ignoring what Black Lives Matter would actually mean if it was applied.
The simultaneous gall and irony of somebody who's on a network that is literally funded by fossil fuel billionaires to push a conservative worldview telling us that we deliberately ignore what BLM would mean is fucking crazy to me. 2, the simultaneous gall and irony of you telling the black community, look what you made me do, when both you and Kanye West are incredibly wealthy and could be educated on these topics if you gave a fuck, is crazy to me. 3, the fact that you don't fucking realize that you saying black people are ignoring the issues in the community, thus you had to put on the White Lives Matter shirt, is implicitly suggesting that White Lives Matter is antithetical to Black Lives Matter, is fucking crazy to me. Meaning the whole shit about ALM and, oh, don't forget about white people because we go through shit too, was literally just all bullshit according to your logic. Don't you have some media training? How did y'all watch that footage back and not realize that you just contradicted the fuck out of yourself? And 4, we'll get to the discussion about what Black Lives Matter would actually mean in a minute after I let you get up real quick.
It would mean taking a look at the real problem that is happening, which is our culture, a celebration of perversity pitched to us as if it's diversity. It's not. It is not diversity that we are celebrating. It is perversity.
You said the same thing twice, and both times it meant less than nothing. 1, where does culture come from, Candace? Tell me where. If you're trying to make the argument that black people are just genetically predisposed to have a bad culture, please do, and you'll get blown the fuck out of the water. But if I'm going to be charitable to you and assume you're not making that argument, you have to acknowledge that culture comes from environment. And I wonder if there's a connection between the environment in which black people in America were placed in and the outcomes in their culture and socioeconomic status. See, the difference with me is I don't just say shit, I back it up. Here's a study on racism and the effects of the mental health of black people, reviewing the evidence that points to a myriad of ways that racism can have a negative impact on black people. Oh, but it gets worse for you. Let's run back what you just showed in your video.
It would mean taking a look at the real problem that is happening, which is our culture.
Please tell me how the fuck a BLM protest is the real problem happening in the black community. And then you showed Cardi B as if to say that hip-hop and the culture around that is the actual problem in the black community. And now I'm about to show you fundamentally why that's fucking stupid. This goes for anyone out there who believes this too. Here's a study on gang violence in LA, significantly linking proportion of employment and per capita income to gang-related activity. Or we can look at socioeconomic status as a fundamental cause of street criminality. And the studies can keep coming because this is not up for fucking debate. The very basis of some of these rap songs that you guys love to talk about are coming from the environment in which black people were placed in and their socioeconomic status. Rap in itself did not stem from the happy-go-lucky circumstances of black people in America. So telling rappers to shut up about their experiences still does not fix the fucking system. And before you say black fatherlessness, take a gander at where they're going. Blaming an outcome for the wrong of a system is as stupid as blaming dishes for not being washed properly and not the dishwasher. And this deliberately shitty line of argumentation you love to engage in stems from the tendency of racist people to view black people as more violent and their culture as problematic. So let me make something abundantly clear. You do not care about these issues. If you did, I'm looking forward to your peer-reviewed response to the evidence. If not, keep tap dancing.
That was a very exciting video. When I first saw it, I was just like, okay, go off. You know, you gotta give the man credit where credit is due. It was very snappy, very yes, very like, oh, you shut her down. It was well put together. The cutting to the screenshots, and then him in the mirror again, and then the fast talking. It was very exciting to watch. And you know, he seems, right, at first glance you would think, oh my god, this guy actually makes sense. He actually like you know, shut her down. Like, that's it. All that Candace Owens has been talking about since I have, you know, met her online, obviously not in person, but like since I've come across her, all of that just got destroyed in this 3-minute video. Obviously that's not true, and that's definitely not what I believe in. So we're gonna break down the video and talk about why this young man is just wrong, to be quite honest. And he cherry picks at the things that he likes to talk about, and I feel like his foundation sometimes has a little bit of, you know, substance to it, but all that's built on top of it is definitely misconstrued. So first he talks about the fact that the Daily Wire was funded by an oil billionaire and promotes conservatism. Okay, so first of all, the Daily Wire is a business at the end of the day, and businesses have investors, okay? So that's just like commonplace. Even when you have a small business, you go to the bank for a loan, and the loan is then, the bank is simultaneously invested in your business. So it's like, I don't understand. And okay, an oil billionaire, is that supposed to be just like wrong? Is it like a former member of the Ku Klux Klan that's funding, you know, the Daily Wire? Like, I don't understand why that was the point. And then he says that they promote conservatism, okay? And like, why? So are black people not supposed to like conservatism? Is conservatism not for black people? Like, is it anti-black to be a conservative? Like, I don't understand. Okay, so that's one. And one thing that a lot of people miss when they like to talk about these conservative news outlets and how they are somehow fundamentally anti-black is that they don't realize that black people were one of the most conservative demographics in this country until white liberals told them that conservatism was not cool anymore. And it seems as if we have forgotten all about foundation as a culture and as a people. So bro, like, literally, you're wrong. And then he moves on to the claim that Candace and Kanye promoting the White Lives Matter phrase or whatever is hypocritical. In some sense, I am going to have to agree with him for a little bit, because one of the problems that I had with Black Lives Matter, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Candace, is that it signaled out a group of people. I am so progressive in my frame of mind that I want us to see I want all of us to just see each other as Americans. And when you single out a group of people based on characteristics that they cannot change, it does not help the culture abroad. So I kind of get it, especially when he's like, oh, you guys were talking about like all lives matter, now you want to single out a group of people as if you were just not complaining about that. Totally fine, and I think it's a reasonable argument. However, you guys are the one that started it. Okay, so maybe we're hypocritical for, you know, criticizing you and then kind of sort of doing the same thing, but this is the world that you have decided to create. You guys are the ones that start with the Black Lives Matter, the Asian Lives Matter, the Trans Lives Matter, the Black Trans Lives Matter. You have insert random demographic here, Lives Matter. You started this thing, so we're just joining, and you can't be mad. And then on top of that, if, you know, Black Lives Matter, all these people's lives matter, and you were okay with that, then what's the big deal with saying White Lives Matter? If somehow saying Black Lives Matter doesn't undermine White Lives Matter, then White Lives Matter should not undermine Black Lives Matter. So it's all in the same boat, and honestly speaking, it's just not a reasonable argument. Him basically saying that racism is the reason why black culture is so trash. It is because of black people's socioeconomic status in this country as to why they are somehow prone to violence, and you know, the rap music stems from that violence, and literally it's all because of white people and racism at the end of the day. Do not agree with that whatsoever, like at all. First of all, you would then have to explain how is it that before, I don't even know when rap came into play, before, you know, gangster rap and all of these things were a thing in our society, what were black people doing before then? You know, like what was the status of Black America before modern day rap and hip hop culture? And I'm pretty sure that it was not as violent and as destructive as it is right now. And those people were a lot less well off than we are. On top of that, they face more racism and discrimination that we are facing right now. So then, you can't blame racism for the culture that as it is right now. You cannot do that because the culture has developed into this crap storm that it is right now. You would then have to make the connection between racism and WAP. That was why Candace decided to put in a clip of Cardi B, because what Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and artists like that are promoted is immorality, sexual destruction. There's nothing good that comes from their music. And I hate the fact that it's only black women that are doing this. I mean, not only, but it's mostly black women that are driving this disgusting behavior through music. I don't understand that. Please make that connection for me between racism and what Cardi B and artists like her do. I need to know, because obviously you know something that I don't. Last point before I kind of summarize this whole thing, saying that black fatherlessness is caused by the prison industrial complex. Okay, so we're gonna break that down a little bit. We have to ask ourselves a question, right? And I feel like when black people talk about injustice in our justice system and racial discrimination in our justice system and how it has affected black people, I'm not saying that there were none, right? I'm not saying that every single black person that's in prison was there just because they're are not there because of racial discrimination. That's what I meant to say. I'm not saying that some of it did not exist, but I refuse to believe that all of the young black men that are in our prison system right now are there strictly because they're black, okay? And when we do this thing, when we blame things on racism, we take away the autonomy and the critical thinking skills and the self-awareness away from black people. We're acting as if every negative thing, every single choice that we make is because of white people or racism. And I am so sorry that I refuse to see us like that. You can see us like that. That's your prerogative. But I am going to look at people that look like me as individuals able to make individual choices that affect their individual lives. I highly doubt that all the black fathers that are missing from their homes are in prison. And I think the reason why, you know, we always have these nuances with this black fatherlessness and these arguments is because we don't all agree on what we mean by fatherlessness. We're not saying that the father is completely just off in the distance somewhere, completely ignoring the child, just not, you know, involved whatsoever, just a complete deadbeat. Now, those do exist. There are a lot of them. There needs to be less, but they do exist. But what we mean, or I shouldn't say we, I should say what I mean when I say that fatherlessness is a problem, I mean the fact that the father is not in the home, physically engaged with his children, engaged with his partner, his wife, just not there in the home. The optimum, the perfect situation to raise children in is when a man and a woman gets married and they live together in one home and they raise their children in that home. That is the prime state of raising children that we want to be in. And the fact of the matter is there are delineations of that, right? The end all, you know, the worst of the worst is a deadbeat father that never acknowledges his children. And then there's fathers that live across the street from their children that, you know, they trade children, that they co-parent, I guess you can say. They have the children is with dad one day and then with mom the next day. There's when the dad lives across town and he sends money, where he is involved in his child's life, but not to the level that he would be if he was living with the mother of his children and his children. Now, obviously, I would prefer the delineations over the deadbeat father, but we have to acknowledge that nevertheless, having children out of wedlock, it is not good, and that trend is very prominent in the black community, and it is contributing to a lot of our problems, okay? And another thing that I feel like you far leftist, you know, hyper conservative critics don't want to talk about is the effect that the Democratic Party has had on the black community and continue to have on the black community. You want to talk about white people that's bad for black people? Can we talk about white liberals? Can we have that conversation? But no, we're not going to have that conversation because we vote with them. All in all, my biggest complaint about this video and this shutdown that this young man claims to have done for towards Candace Owens is that it completely takes away from the autonomy of the Black community. It ignores a lot of the problem that we have direct control over. And when we continue to sit there and put all the blame and all the attention on racism of the past, racism that's not even affecting us in the same way that it affected the people who had to deal with it, we refuse to acknowledge the actual everyday problems of the Black community. And that was Candace's point. That was the point, and you completely missed the point because of where it was coming from, because of who it was coming from. You cannot break down what Candace said and completely nullify all her arguments. You just simply cannot do it. So what you're going to do is throw random insults, throw in a little bit of curse words here and there, do these very short clips, these random screenshots of these studies that you have found that are completely taken out of context, and say, oh, this is the evidence to say that she is wrong. I found this very interesting. And then the comment, the what is it called again? The thing at the bottom that you put in an Instagram post, the caption was keep tap dancing. And for some reason that really pissed me off, because I was recently called the C word, C-O-O-N, a week ago by someone because of my opinion on the whole Little Mermaid being Black situation. And I don't know why that pissed me off as much as it does, but I realize it's because it's such a dismissive and such a disgusting way of addressing a Black person that refuses to just go along with the narrative. And the people that like to do this the most are Black people. The minute you stop and start thinking for yourself and start being critical of what you have been taught, of what you have been made to believe, all of a sudden you're a complete traitor to your race, and you are allowed to just be, degraded by everyone around you. And it's a horrible thing that Black people do to one another. Instead of just having these conversations and breaking it down and really looking at the problem, we throw insults at one another and dismissive terms and quotes, and it's just gross. Because you are using the same insult that white people used to use towards Black people to insert another Black person. And somehow it's okay because you disagree with them politically. Thank you for taking the time out to check out my channel. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, throw something in the comment section down below. And I think that's all I'm supposed to say. Thank you for your time and your attention. Remember to be blessed and be a blessing.